Hi everyone and welcome to another Korean lesson from Korean Studio. My name is Kim Gi-hwan. Now, one of the most common language functions is to talk about our past experiences. So when we talk to people about their past experiences, we often ask questions like, have you been somewhere? Have you seen this film? And one of the most common questions that Korean people ask foreigners is, have you tried kimchi? So in this lesson, we're going to learn how to talk about our past experiences using three different structures. 보다, 적이 있다, 없다. And the combination of these two, 본 적이 있다, 없다. Let's begin with 보다. Now, we add 보다 to verb stems to talk about trying to do something. And there are many different ways of adding 보다 to verb stems. But generally, if a verb stem ends in vowels or we add 보다. So 앉다 to sit becomes 앉아보다. 가다 to go becomes 가보다. However, if a verb stem ends in vowels other than or we add 보다. So 먹다 to eat becomes 먹어보다. 쓰다 to use or to write becomes 써보다. Now, we've created a table with a comprehensive list of how we add 보다 and the other verb endings from today's video. And there is a link in the comments below with this table. So do refer to that table for a full list of how we add 보다 to verb stems. Now, if we use 보다 in the present tense, we talk about trying to do something. So if we have some food and we want to say, try this, try eating this, then we can say, 이거 먹어봐요. 이거 먹어봐요. And this literally means try eating this. 이거 먹어봐요. Also, if you really enjoy reading a particular book and you want to tell your friend to try reading that book, you can say 이 책 읽어봐. 이 책 읽어봐. And this means try reading this book. 이 책 읽어봐. So when we use 보다 in the present tense, we talk about trying to do something. However, if we use this verb ending in the past tense, rather than talking about trying to do something, we use it to talk about things we tried in the past. So in everyday conversation, to ask about people's past experience or to talk about our past experience, it's really common to use the past form of 보다. Now, to give you some examples, to ask, have you been to Korea? We can ask, 한국에 가봤어요? 한국에 가봤어요? And to ask, have you read this book? We can ask, 이 책 읽어봤어요? 이 책 읽어봤어요? And to answer these questions and say, I've been to Korea, we can say, 저는 한국에 가봤어요. 저는 한국에 가봤어요. And to say, I haven't read this book, we can say, 저는 이 책 안 읽어봤어요. 저는 이 책 안 읽어봤어요. So to make the verb into a negative form, we add 안, which means not, in front of the verb phrase. So one way of talking about our past experience is to use the past form of 보다. Let's now take a look at how we use 적이 있다 and 없다. Now, similar to the past form of 보다, we use 적이 있다 and 없다 to talk about things we have experienced or haven't experienced in the past. 적이 있다 is the positive form and 적이 없다 is the negative form. And adding 적이 있다 and 없다 to verbs is a little simpler than 보다. First, we add 니은 적이 있다 없다 if the verb stem doesn't end in 받침. So 가다 to go becomes 간 적이 있다 없다. 쓰다 to use to write becomes 쓴 적이 있다 없다. On the other hand, we add 적이 있다 없다 if the verb stem ends in 받침. So 먹다 to eat becomes 먹은 적이 있다 없다. 읽다 to read becomes 읽은 적이 있다 없다. Now then, using these verb structures, we can ask the same questions we asked using 보다. So to ask, have you been to Korea? We can ask, 한국에 간 적 있어요? 한국에 간 적 있어요? And quite often, the particle 이 after 적 is omitted. And to ask, have you read this book? We can ask, 이 책 읽은 적 있어요? 이 책 읽은 적 있어요? And to answer these questions and say, I've been to Korea, we can say, 저는 한국에 간 적 있어요. 저는 한국에 간 적 있어요. And to say, I haven't read this book, we can say, 저는 이 책 읽은 적 없어요. 저는 이 책 읽은 적 없어요. So basically, we can ask and answer the same things using the past form of 보다 and 은 적이 있다, 없다. However, there are some differences in nuance between these phrases. The main difference is that when we use 보다 in the past tense, the focus is more on having tried something. So the meaning is more active. We're focusing on the act of having done something in the past because we had the intention to do so. It was something we desire to do, we wanted to do. On the other hand, 은 적이 있다 focuses purely on the meaning of having experienced something. So the meaning is a little more passive. It doesn't indicate any intention or desire on the subject to try that experience. And in fact, the thing we experienced may have been coincidental. So let's take a look at these two example sentences. 저는 한국에 가봤어요. 저는 한국에 가봤어요. 저는 한국에 간 적 있어요. 저는 한국에 간 적 있어요. So in the first sentence, the focus of the meaning is that I tried something. And when I tried it, it was my intention to go to Korea. And I wanted to go to Korea. On the other hand, the second sentence simply means that I had this experience in the past. I may have had the intention and the desire to go to Korea, but it's not indicated in the sentence. Also, the fact that I had this experience may have been more coincidental. It could have been that I didn't have the intention or the desire to go to Korea, but I had to go because a family member's wedding was in Korea. So that's the key difference between these two sentences. So although in many situations you can use these sentences interchangeably, there are certain differences in nuance. Now, a couple of points to note with these two structures is that because we use the past form of 보다 to talk about having tried something in the past with our intentions, we don't use the verbs 잃어버리다, meaning to lose something, and 실수하다, to make a mistake, with 보다 in the past tense. I think it's fair to say that we lose things or make mistakes unintentionally. So to talk about past experience of losing something, perhaps losing a wallet or making mistakes, we use the verbs 잃어버리다 and 실수하다 with 은 적이 있다, 없다. Also, to talk about our past experience of having watched something or having seen something, we use the verb 보다 only with 은 적이 있다, 없다. We don't use 보다 with 보다 in the past tense. Okay, so the final point to note in this lesson is that when we talk about our past experiences, we often combine 보다 and 은 적이 있다, 없다 and form 본 적이 있다, 없다. So to ask, have you been to Korea? We can say, 한국에 가본 적 있어요? 한국에 가본 적 있어요? And to say, I've been to Korea, we can say, 저는 한국에 가본 적 있어요. 저는 한국에 가본 적 있어요. And to say, I haven't been to Korea, we can say, 저는 한국에 가본 적 없어요. 저는 한국에 가본 적 없어요. And when we combine 보다 with 은 적이 있다, 없다, the meaning of the structure is more similar to the past form of 보다, as it implies having tried something in the past. So it includes the subject's intention and the desire to try something in the past. And generally in conversations, when we ask people questions like, have you been to Korea? Have you tried this food? Or have you read this book? It's far more common to use the past form of 보다 and the combined form of 보다 and 은 적이 있다, 없다, which is 본 적이 있다, 없다. And when you're responding to these questions, in essence, you can use all three structures. And the structure you decide to use depends more on the meaning you want to convey. However, in general, if you want to say, I've been to Korea, the most common sentences are 한국에 가봤어요. 한국에 가봤어요. And 한국에 가본 적 있어요. 한국에 가본 적 있어요. And the less common sentence is 한국에 간 적 있어요. 한국에 간 적 있어요. Okay, so that's it for this lesson, and I hope you now have a much better understanding of how we use these three structures to talk about our past experiences in Korean. That's it for today, and I look forward to seeing you soon again. Bye-bye.